What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Nick of October Ends. Great to be able to talk with you, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, same here, man. Thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. It's so awesome to have you here. The newest album is Phases, which is absolutely kick ass. Was there sort of like a preconceived vision of what you wanted this to sound like? Were you sort of like continuing in a similar vein of what we heard off an album such as Zodiac or something like that? Or was this like a very experimental sort of improvisational songwriting process?
I would say it was probably a very experimental process. Like we didn't have a certain vision in mind. We had like influences, we had certain sounds in mind that we wanted to like just implement, but we didn't have a vision for like the whole thing. The process, like the songwriting process, was literally just coming up with songs and then just putting them all together. And we just kept whatever we liked. And I can't say there was a clear vision or anything. It was just purely experimental,
Yeah.
and it sounds very different from the previous stuff
You could
from Zodiac.
you could say that again. And I know like some artists are like, don't really like the term or the question like what does the record name mean? But does that at all maybe represent like the title in a way because like October Ends going through maybe different phases through their sound and through their sonic journey?
Yeah, exactly, man. You got it right. Yeah, that's basically it. Like while we were writing this album, where everybody was going through different phases, either that's like life phases or like music phases, and then October Ends also was also going through different phases because like we had some lineup changes. We had some new band members who also contributed to the record, and you could definitely say that phases means exactly what you said. Yeah.
A plus. I got that. I
Yeah,
got that
yeah.
question right on the test. Um, but I
Very
felt
good.
like this album had many different emotions, like opening from with "Destroy Us All" to a track such as "Hero" or "Alive" or "One More Round," and then ending with a track such as "Down." Is it fair to say that through the making of this album, there was many different emotions that were being felt and many different sort of sources of inspiration that kind of was channeled into this?
Yeah, definitely. Destroy a Soul was very much inspired by cyberpunk-ish like music, like industrial music, mostly electronic music. But then like we thought it would be cool to like just add metal riffs to them, to the electronic elements. And it talks uh it was kind of like about COVID and how fucked up were like the decisions the governments took. And then that's one song. And then there's another song like Hero, you also mentioned, which is like completely different. It's like uh sorry about that. And yeah, and then there's Hero, which is a song which is like was inspired from Stranger Things. Like the electronic elements were very much inspired from like the soundtrack from Stranger Things. Nothing to do with the plot in Stranger Things, just like the analog, like big synths that the opening theme has, and it talks about like that. That's a very personal one, and it talks about like how I went from like Greece to like moving England, and like how that transition was for me, kind of. So that's a completely different emotion. And then Down, which is the last song of the record, but ironically, it's the first song we wrote for this album. That one was for COVID because, like, back when I wrote that, like, there was still like COVID was still going on, and then there's so many different emotions and like so many different like genres that we blended in. Um,
Mhm. Well,
yeah.
because you have these different lyrical subject matters and whatnot, it's fair to say, because writing, from looking outwards to other mediums such as Stranger Things to, the pandemic to, talking about how you would move and, that different experience, is it fair to say that you take inspiration from both a very internal and external source?
Yeah, definitely. That's totally right. And it's not only me who wrote the lyrics, obviously. Destroy Us All was written mostly, I think, by Michael Charlton, like our guitarist, and then Alex, our other guitarist. They both wrote a big portion of the lyrics for this album as well. So yeah, like all of us together, you could say that it's like, yeah, definitely both internal and external
Mhm.
experiences
Could the
that
diff
inspire us.
and do you even if it's not necessarily the lyrics, so to speak, but the lyrical idea, like if writing a song about Stranger Things or the pandemic, when you think of these concepts, does that also influence the music itself, or do you prefer to have like a whole song composition before any lyrics really do come into play?
Um, the way we worked on this record was like we would write the instrumental first. So when we had like the instrumental ready, and then if we collectively said this is a song, we probably want to keep the song on a record. Um, we would then go and write lyrics. So like I wouldn't say the lyrics inspired the music, but like rather the other way around.
Hmm. And when it comes to, because being that everybody in the band does contribute to lyrics, but you're the one who's singing them, do you have maybe like a different attachment to the lyrics that you wrote as opposed to something that your bandmate wrote, or do you feel the same about all those lyrics regardless of who wrote what?
Um, like that's an interesting question. I don't really think about that, but at the same time, like when I wrote something, it's not that I will sing it more. I will be more emotional about it. It's probably I don't know. It's a weird question. I've never really thought about that. Good question. Um, I think that like whoever writes the vocals, I will put the same amount of effort to make them sound good. And if a song that either I or someone else wrote will sound more emotional or not because of that, uh, is something that I've never thought about that, and um, I, I don't know how to basically answer this, but I think that all of the lyrics written from my bandmates that were later sung by me, I think I'm singing the same way, all of them, and like all the emotion that I would put in the song that I wrote, I try to do it when someone else wrote the lyrics,
Hmm.
because I think that's like a fair approach, because like if the songs that I wrote and then I sang sounded more emotional than uh, what compared to a song that someone else wrote the lyrics,
Yeah.
it would be unfair.
Mhm. If somebody were to get to know you and your band very well, though, and just look at the lyrics, maybe not even just listening to the music, just looked at the lyrics printed, would they maybe get an idea of who wrote what in a way?
Um, I think yeah, because like I said, I'm Greek. I moved to England like 3 years ago, and my English is not the best. So you could probably tell that like my lyrics are like a little bit more simplistic. Like I don't use like um, rare words or like I don't know poetry, which for example Alex does that a little bit. He's a little bit more poetic with his lyrics, and then Michael is by far the most like the emo guy in the band who always like writes the most depressive lyrics. And like I think yeah, there's a very if you just had to look at the lyrics, you could probably like tell who wrote what.
Yeah, definitely. And it's fair to say they're both very literal and metaphorical, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm. And the final question I have about the lyrics is, do you want the lyricism to be open to interpretation, or do you want the listener to be just as engaged in the meaning as much as the music?
Um, I can talk for myself about this one. I don't know what others think of that, but my lyrics are usually open to interpretation because, like, some of them, for example, playtime is just like a narrative of like an experience, and like how I felt it, but like someone else could have felt the same experience a different way. So like I want my lyrics to be open into interpretation.
Mhm.
I hope it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think that like the meaning also can evolve over time as you evolve as an artist? Do you think that maybe these ideas can age very well? Because I even think that listening to Zodiac or even the EP A New Path, I feel like that there is almost like context that aged very well as well. Or do you want every song for October Ends to just be a snapshot of who you were and how you were feeling at that particular time?
Um, that's a tough question. Um, at the same, I think it's both at the same time. Because like yeah, like what we wrote in a certain like uh in a certain moment in time, that was like a snapshot of like who we were at that moment. And like I know for myself that I try to constantly evolve and change and like get better at what I do. So I would feel like nice if I knew that a song aged well, but at the same time, that's not something that would keep me from like changing or evolving or like trying new stuff.
Mhm. Is it better too when it comes to songwriting if everybody in the band is on the same page and feeling the same way, or could different feelings and different experiences actually help make the songwriting better, for lack of better words?
Yeah. Um again it's both ways because like sometimes when everybody has like the exact same vision, like I think that the music that you're gonna come up with, it will naturally be more what's the word? Not as vastly influenced maybe, um which having a lot of influences for me personally, it's a good thing, because I think that you can reach a wider audience and like you can have more people resonate with you, while at the same time, while the same thing could be bad. Like sometimes if a lot of people end up like getting involved into one thing, sometimes it might kind of like have a lack of identity. Uh, so like it can be good and it can be bad, but having a little bit of it, I think it's good.
Mhm.
Having a little bit of like everybody getting involved is good, because it gives like a different character to it. But at the same time, if you have a lot of people like involved, getting involved too much into it, it kind of like has the opposite effect where
Definitely.
it kind of loses its identity and you can't tell like.
Yeah. It's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Like it's good to have everybody on the same page with everything, but it's also good to have your art challenged in a way because maybe it could even be better.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely agree with that.
In order to get that creative energy, whether it will be for writing lyrics or coming up with different melodies or different song ideas, do you almost need to put yourself in a specific place in order to get those ideas, or does inspiration just strike out of the blue for you?
I wish it was the second one, but I have to like get my mind off of everything. Like I usually when a song write, I just tell myself, okay, today you'll just do only this and nothing else, and like I'll just spend a whole day uh, being away from socials, being away from everybody, just like uh, get myself into my bedroom and just like songwrite. I have to put myself into that state to do that, and it doesn't always work.
Fair enough. And like, but sometimes you're working on a song for days or weeks or months. Like, do you feel that like the longer you work on something, the harder it is to sort of like maintain that emotional spark that like started that idea?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I've heard other people saying that a lot. When you I feel like that when you start on a song, start working on a new song, and like kind of like really fast, you get it to sound good. Uh, like it's very the whole process becomes way easier to like make take the song into like uh an almost like complete level and like be satisfied with it. While if you like keep going back to the same song again and again because you're not happy with the way it's sounding, I think it's less likely that you're gonna come up with a song that's gonna be like amazing and you're gonna enjoy it. So yeah, definitely like the time in this process plays a big part.
Yeah, like they always tell you, like, I'm sure as an artist, we've all heard you should take your time, but like no, like if sometimes if you take too much time, the song kind of just dies in that abyss, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's been times where like you can turn the song around where you've been spending a lot of time in it and you're like ready to give up because it's just not sounding good. And then like maybe, I don't know, you'll change just the chorus and then the whole song will sound amazing. But like that's not the rule of the thumb, I guess.
Yeah. How do you? Is there a specific point that you have to reach to know when the song is done in a way?
Um that's a hard question.
That's always the hardest one. How do you know when a song is
Yeah, yeah,
done?
yeah, yeah. You keep throwing really tough questions.
I'm notorious for
Um,
that.
no, no, you're good, man. Um, I don't think there's like a point where you know that the song is finished. It's just like I think it's mostly where you want to be like, okay, I like this song enough to like stop working on it because it's already good. And if I change something, like it might make it worse. So when I think when you reach that point where you like any change uh, with any change, you risk making the song worse rather than making it better. I think then you know the song's done.
That was a very, very good answer, actually. I like how it was very technical in a way. So,
Yeah, I haven't thought about it before, but yeah.
I mean, as somebody who hasn't been asked that before, that was a very, very good answer. If you think you're only going to make it worse and not better from there, that's a very good way of putting it. I'm going to send that to other bands for future references when I ask that question. Yeah.
Sure, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
very much.
going back to like the sound of October Ends in a way, because there without a doubt I can't define you in one genre. I see people who love metalcore appreciating you, people who like rock, people who like more techno oriented stuff. I feel like October Ends does appeal to multiple audiences. Do you feel that that maybe makes it a little bit easier to sort of try new things in your songwriting process?
It definitely makes it easier for us to try more like stuff for us. Because like people expect us now to like October Ends has been doing weird shit all the time. You're not expecting us to just do metalcore. So it definitely makes it easier for us in terms of like what people are going to be expecting from us. But at the same time, I know like in the metal scene, there's a lot of people who don't like that. There's people who like strictly metalcore or like deathcore or like new metal. And like when you throw, I don't know, when you throw like trap or like cyberpunk or like R&B into like these genres, they'll just hate you.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, there's the periodic table of heavy metal subgenres, as I like to say, and but you know what? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You could experiment all you want, bring in many different styles. People will say that you lack focus, but if you have a consistent sound, people will say that you're repetitive. So I think in the end, it has to go. In the end, with everything October Ends does, it is sort of like a gut feeling, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We try to first like satisfy ourselves. I don't think we ever thought like let's write a song that people will like. I think we just think what we want to hear. We come up with what we want to hear and what we like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's priority to us
Mm-hmm.
at this moment. Maybe that will change. I don't know, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's how it is right now.
And as somebody who mentioned you'd like to write more alone in isolation and whatnot, but then when you have to play this material live, does that almost are you almost like expressing a different side of yourself, or is it almost kind of like a different version of who Nick is in a way?
Oh, that's again like something that you have these really good questions, man.
Thank you.
uh, I definitely think that like it brings a different side of me because like it's a very different experience when you're on stage and you have to be aware of the whole band. You have to be aware of the room. You have to be aware of the people that are watching you. Uh, that definitely brings a different like emotion and different side to um, the way I will approach it. Um, I think that both processes have their own different excitement. Because like on the recording, you can fuck up many times, and then you have the chance to like do things again and again. But live, you have you don't have that luxury, I guess, and you have to be aware of that. But at the same time, you have all the excitement and all the energy that comes from the crowd from performing, from the loud sounds. So yeah.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else with October Ends that you would like to promote with the release of Phases? Can we be expecting you guys to come to the U.S. fairly soon?
I would love to say that we had something booked, but we don't at the moment. But it's something that we're definitely looking into for like as soon as possible, I guess. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. Great questions. Very interesting interview.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Everybody, we are here with October Ends. Be sure to check out Phases. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.